So shooting outdoors is great. There's plenty of light. You don't need to worry about setting up lights, light stands, where to plug stuff in. You just don't need to do it. But if there's one accessory that I always use to take my footage to the next level, and one accessory that I would highly recommend everyone has, and I use this on all my cameras, whether it's my Canon EOS R, my drone, or even my Osmo Action, that is ND filters. So what's the point of an ND filter? Well, basically an ND filter is like putting sunglasses on your camera lens. So the way a lens works is you have an aperture. So the wider it is, the more light that comes in, or the lower the f-stop, the more light that comes in. The higher the f-stop, or the more closed your aperture is, the less light that comes in. So on days like this, if you don't have an ND filter, you're gonna have to close your aperture a hell of a lot more to just cut out a whole lot of light so you can get your exposure correct. Now the benefit of having a much wider aperture is you can have a higher shallow depth of field. So the background is going to be a hell of a lot more blurry. So the benefit of that is you can focus right on your subject, and it just makes the image a lot more cinematic. So let's have a look at these two shots. As you can tell, it's pretty easy to see which one has the ND filter and which one doesn't. They're both shot on the same lens, just one has the ND filter, so you can open up your aperture a lot more, and you can just see how blurry the background is and how in focus and how sharp that tree is. Really pinpoint and focus on your subject. Just makes your shot so much more cinematic. So I cannot recommend an ND filter enough. So ND filters come in a lot of different types. So this one here is what's called a variable ND filter. So as you can see, as you turn the little ring around the side, it brightens and darkens, which is great because you can do the fine tune adjustments. So like on a lens like this, if I want to bring the exposure down a bit, I can just go turn the ring or bring it brighter, which is great. So other filters, like the one on my Osmo, it isn't variable, which means once you put it on, that's what you're getting. And it usually comes at a few different stops. So depending on the light levels, you've got different filters for how bright it is. So putting on an ND filter is a pretty simple process. All it is you got your lens, ND filter, and it's, for the most part, it's just screw onto the end of the lens, and then you're done. So unfortunately, one size doesn't fit all. So a lens like this 50mm Canon 1.4 is going to have a different filter size to say a Samyang 35mm. So this is a 77mm lens. This one's a 58mm. So they're just not going to fit, which unfortunately means you're going to have to get multiple filters for different lenses. When you get a high level camera like a C100 or Sony's FS5 series, they actually have ND filters built into the actual camera body, so it's between the sensor and the back of the lens, and that's great, which means all you need to do is chuck on the lens and just set, no matter what size it is, no matter what lens you have on it, doesn't matter because it's behind the actual lens. So as I was saying before, I use it on all my cameras when I'm shooting, so even stuff like the Osmo Action, on my drone I have an ND filter, because it just helps your footage so much. And it's not just outdoors. If you're shooting indoors and you want to get the high aperture and it's still brightish, you can put an ND filter on it to adjust indoors as well. But for the most part, because it's always bright outside, I'm generally always got an ND filter on the lens of whatever I'm shooting on. Alright, so that'll about do it for today's video. If you did enjoy it or got something out of it, please hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.